Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today's Monday, November 5th, 2018. Today I'm going to recap last night and yesterday's NFL games and provide takeaways from every game. Look ahead and preview tonight's game between the Titans and the Cowboys. Go over yesterday's basketball and hockey games, look ahead to tonight's slate in each sport. And I'll provide my best bet of the night. And I'll go over my win that was on the You Can Bank on It from yesterday. All right. Football, the early games were blah, but the later games were exciting. The Bears defeated the Bills 41-9. Good take care of business win for the Chicago Bears as they go to 5-3. Buffalo drops to 2-7. Mitch Trubisky, 12 for 20, 135 yards, a touchdown, the pick. Nate Peterman was awful. 31 of 49, 189 yards, and 3 interceptions. And my takeaway for the Bears is that they learned from their last trap game to not look ahead to their next opponents. So good job by that. And in my takeaway for the Bills, boy, they might actually be the worst team in the NFL. The Chiefs defeated the Browns 37-21. The Chiefs go to 8-1. The Browns drop to 2-6-1. Patrick Mahomes, 23 of 32, 375 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Baker Mayfield, 29 of 42, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns and the pick. My grand takeaway for the Chiefs is that they continue to be amazing on offense. Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, is still the favorite for the league MVP award. Browns, meanwhile, they're still the Browns. We just got excited because they had that come-from-behind win against the Jets, led by Baker Mayfield. And then they had that other win against the Ravens in a game that they could have easily lost. So this team's bad. We just got excited about them over Baker Mayfield, and his play has regressed over the last couple weeks as well. And they're just a mess. They're still the Browns. The Dolphins defeated the Jets 13-6. As the Dolphins go to 5-4, the Jets drop to 3-6. Brock Osweiler, 15 of 24, 139 yards. So he had a bad game. Who had a worser game, arguably, despite having thrown more yards, was Sam Darnold, 21 of 39, 229 yards, and 4 interceptions. Jesus. Dolphins, they're still in this thing. They're 5-4. If you're 500 or better after the midpoint of the season, or at least into November, then you should still be considered in the hunt. Meanwhile, the Jets, I think they're cooked. Sam Darnold, that was just an awful performance, but hey, he's a rookie. Rookies are going to do that. Don't forget, Peyton Manning threw a ton of interceptions his rookie year. I'm not suggesting that Darnold's going to be the next Peyton Manning, but you just never know. And Darnold's issue in college, and I think it's a key reason why the Giants passed on him, was because he turned the ball over too much in college. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. The Vikings defeated the Lions 24-9. Much needed win for the Minnesota Vikings as they go to 5-3-1. Detroit drops to 3-5. Kirk Cousins, 18 of 22, 162 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Matt Stafford, 25 of 36 and 199 yards. Vikings, their defense looks like it's back. Everson Griffin is back. I think that their defense is only going to get better going forward. They have some big games coming up, even though they lost their 2 biggest games of the year against the Rams and the Saints, respectively. But you got to win those division games if you want to win your division if you're the Vikings. And for the Lions, just dreadful of a performance. This team is not any good. And listen, I was not high on Matt Patricia. And boy, I'm just not a fan of him and that team. And they struggled in the red zone. 3 Matt Prater field goals. So, yeah, they're just not good. The Falcons defeated the Redskins 38-14. Much needed win for Atlanta to pretty much save their season as they go to 4-4. Washington drops to 5-3. Matt Ryan, phenomenal game, 26 of 38, 350 yards, 4 touchdowns and an interception. Alex Smith, 30 of 46, 306 yards, a touchdown and a pick. My takeaway is that the Atlanta Falcons are not dead yet. This team has to be considered a candidate to get the last wildcard spot in the NFC, and usually it is a team that either nobody saw coming in the preseason or a team that gets off to a slow start and ends up turning their season around that ends up getting a playoff spot. Like, you've seen that a lot through the years, and certainly the Falcons, I think, are capable of doing that. Meanwhile, Washington's a mess. Like, they looked so bad. Their defense was awful. Alex Smith, those were just garbage yards. It kind of reminded me of the Giants, sadly enough. This, like, how they had so many garbage time stuff, and that score really wasn't that close. And Alex Smith, I don't think, was very good in that game. So I really think that the Eagles have a real chance of putting this division away as they're coming off their bye. I expect them to be better within the next couple weeks. The Panthers defeated the Buccaneers 42-28. This was another game. It wasn't as close as the final score indicated either, as the Panthers go to 6-2. Tampa drops to 3-5. Cam Newton, 19 of 25, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 24 of 40, 243 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Carolina, this team has to be taken seriously as a Super Bowl contender. They have a big one on Thursday night in Pittsburgh. And they, in theory, can win that game, but I just don't like betting against Roethlisberger at home. But you never know. Maybe I may have a surprise up my sleeve and pick the Panthers Thursday night. You never know. But this Panthers team has to be taken seriously, and they're certainly a contender. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not a contender. They're terrible, and Dirk Cutter, I think, is going to lose his job down the road. The Steelers defeated the Ravens 23-16. Big win for Pittsburgh as they go to 5-2-1. Baltimore drops to 4-5. Ben Roethlisberger, 28 of 47, 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. Joe Flacco, 23 of 37 and 206 yards. Pittsburgh, that was a good win for them. They had to hold on there at the end, but they got the stops down the stretch to stop the Ravens. Meanwhile, Baltimore's lost 3 straight, and people are calling for John Harbaugh's job. So that's something to watch out for. The Texans defeated the Broncos 19-17. This was a late game as Houston goes to 6-3. Winners of 6 in a row, by the way. And Denver drops to 3-6 as Brandon McManus missed a 51-yard field goal as time expired. Houston hangs on the win. That was a lucky win for Houston, though. Deshaun Watson, 17 of 24, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns. Case Keenum, 26 of 42, 290 yards and a touchdown. Watson, meanwhile, has shown signs of his old self, especially in that game against Miami. But the Houston Texans, they're 6-3, but all those wins have come against bad teams. The Broncos are a bad team. They find ways to lose like they did yesterday. The Dolphins, they're a bad team. Yeah, they're 5-4. That win might look good down the road if the Dolphins hang in the mix, but they're just not very good. They're the worst team that's over 500 in the NFL right now. I think Houston's better than them. And then they beat Jacksonville, and that was when Blake Bortles got benched. They beat Indianapolis in a shootout. That was an impressive win, but let's be honest. The coach of the Colts made a bad decision in that game that pretty much gift-wrapped the Texans that game. And then there's a couple other ones that I forgot about too. So keep an eye out for Houston. They might have a better record than they really should be because of their easy schedule down the stretch. I know they have the Jets coming up. They have the Redskins. Oh, another one of their wins was against the Cowboys in overtime at home. So that's another game that they could have, in theory, lost. But yeah, just keep an eye out for Houston, and I wouldn't be stunned if they finished 11-5. And meanwhile, for Denver, Vance Joseph is certainly a candidate to get fired. He should have been fired after last year, but I don't think he wanted to embarrass himself. I'm talking about he as in John Elway. I don't think he wanted to embarrass himself firing a coach after hiring him. So that's certainly a coach on the hot seat, in my opinion. The Chargers defeat the Seahawks 25-17. Chargers are lucky they got this win because Caleb Sturgis, their kicker, missed a ton of extra points and field goals, which kept Seattle in this game. And Seattle, in theory, could have tied this game and forced overtime, but no, a couple miscues by the Seahawks cost them as the Chargers go to 6-2, Seattle goes to 4-4. Phil Rivers, 13 of 26, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson, 26 of 39, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. The Chargers, despite the kicking problems, they did release Caleb Sturgis, by the way, despite their special teams issues, and I'm not a huge fan of their coach, Anthony Lynn. They have to be taken seriously. They have a ton of talent. Joey Bosa's coming back, and this is certainly a playoff team in the AFC. And Seattle, meanwhile, disappointing loss. I really thought that they were going to win this game going in, but they were outplayed, and maybe the 12th man, we overrated it a little bit. And maybe the Seahawks are the team that I thought they were before the season. The Saints defeated the Rams 45-35. This was a phenomenal game. New Orleans goes to 7-1. LA drops to 8-1. That was obviously the Rams' first loss of the year. Drew Brees, 25 of 36, 346 yards, 4 touchdowns. He has inserted himself in the MVP conversation along with Patrick Mahomes. And Phillip Rivers, by the way, has to be mentioned. And by the way, that game came down to Seattle driving and somebody dropping a pass in the end zone, which would have gave the Seahawks a chance to tie it with a 2-point conversion. But back to the Saints and the Rams. But Breeze has definitely inserted himself in that MVP conversation. Jared Goff, 28 of 40, 391 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. The Saints might have the best offense in the league, especially when they're playing in their home building. And the crazy thing is that the Saints were up 35-17 at halftime. Rams scored 3 straight times. Touchdown to Malcolm Brown made it an 11-point game. Field goal made it an 8-point game. Then long touchdown pass from Goff to Cooper Kupp, plus the 2-point conversion from Goff to Gerald Everett ties it at 35 apiece. And then Saints go get a field goal on the next drive, put them up 38-35, and then the long touchdown pass from Brees to Michael Thomas put the Saints up for good in this game. But this was just a fun game to watch. And the Rams, their secondary is not very good. They need to keep Talib back soon. That certainly turned out to be a huge loss for them on the secondary. And the Patriots defeated the Packers 31-17 as the Pats go to 7-2. Green Bay drops to 3-4-1. Tom Brady, 22 of 35, 294 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers, 24 of 43, 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. New England, another great win in primetime for them at home. That's all they do, pretty much. Take care of business. And Green Bay, meanwhile, tough loss. Some big games coming up down the stretch. They're home against the Dolphins next week. They must win that game to keep their season alive. I'm not writing Green Bay off because of Rodgers, but they have some easy games down the stretch to get themselves back in the mix for that last wild card, because that last wild card spot in the NFC to me is wide open. Tonight we have the Titans at the Cowboys, 8:15 ESPN. Dallas is now a 4.5-point favorite. That line went down because that line was too high. This line probably should be Dallas at 3.5. And you have Jason Witten's first game back in Dallas as a broadcaster. So that's sort of intriguing, with obviously Joe Tessitore doing the play-by-play, and you have Booger McFarland there and Lisa Salters. And I'm interested to see if Dallas continues to thrive at home. Their offense thrives at home. Dak Prescott always plays well at home. He's played well at home his whole career, pretty much. And Tennessee has been a disappointment, especially Marcus Mariota. And this was a bit of a make-or-break year for Marcus Mariota. So, big spot for the Titans here to see if they can get themselves right. And obviously a big spot for Dallas. The winner of this game, I think, is still alive in their respective conferences' playoff race. Especially Dallas, because I really think they must win tonight, as Fox Sports' Colin Cowherd is saying right now. But yeah, he's right. Cowboys must win if they want to hang in this thing, because the NFC is tougher than the AFC. But the AFC, I think the favorite for that 6th spot is the Cincinnati Bengals right now. And obviously the second place team in the AFC West is going to be your 5 seed, in which, in my opinion, is going to be the Chargers. And then the Cowboys, if they win, then they're back in the conversation for the 6th spot in the NFC playoffs, not only in the NFC wildcard picture, but in their own division, because Washington lost and laid an egg, and Philly hasn't been the same team so far this season as they were last year. So this is a big opportunity for the Cowboys to defend their home field as they've done all year and get back to 500 on the year. NBA. Some interesting results last night and yesterday afternoon, I should say. The Bucks defeated the Kings 144-109. Nice win for Milwaukee, taking advantage of a team that's overachieved so far. They're 8-1. Sacramento is 6-4. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 26 points, 15 boards, 11 assists. He's just phenomenal. Chris Middleton had 12. Eric Bledsoe had 17 with 6 boards. Malcolm Brogdon had 13. Ersan Ilyasova had 15 off the bench. John Henson had 10 off the bench. Pat Cunningham had 13 off the bench. Tony Snell had 12 off the bench. De'Aaron Fox had a 15-6-6. Buddy Hield had 19. Justin Jackson had 22 off the bench. Marvin Bagley and Troy Williams had 11 each off the bench. But he had a little bit of a disappointment for Sacramento here. But it was predicted. It was very predictable, and I probably should have put the Bucks in that teaser, or not teaser, but in that parlay that you can bank on, a parlay with those NFL teams. But I wanted to make it an NFL themed one for yesterday, not throw NBA in. But hey, it worked out because I won. The Wizards defeated the Knicks 108-95. A much needed victory for the Washington Wizards as they go to 2-7. The Knicks dropped to 3-7. John Wall had 26. With 7 assists. Bradley Beal had 22 with 8 boards. Dwight Howard had 10 and 10. Marcus Morris had a great game, 16 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds. Jeff Green had 14 with 9 boards off the bench. Enes Kanter off the bench for the Knicks, 18 points, 12 boards. He continues to be a double-double machine for them. Mitch Robinson had 10 with 6 boards. Damian Dotson had 11 with 6 boards. Tim Hardaway Jr. had his worst shooting game of the year so far. He only had 7 points, but he did have 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Mario Hezonja, 10 points and 8 boards off the bench. Trey Burke had 13 off the bench. The Nets defeated the 76ers 122-97. Impressive win for the Brooklyn Nets as they go to 4-6. Philadelphia drops to 6-5. Rondae Hollis Jefferson off the bench for Brooklyn, 21 points and 6 boards. Karis LeVert had 20 points and 5 boards. D'Angelo Russell had 21 points and 6 assists. Jared Allen had 15 points and 10 boards. Joe Harris had 11. Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench had 12 points with 8 assists. Bad loss for Philly. Ben Simmons, 20 points, 12 boards. Joel Embiid, 16 points, 15 boards. Dario Saric had 14. Landry Shamet off the bench had 12. JJ Redick off the bench had 15. The Magic defeated the Spurs 117-110. Good win for Orlando. Very impressive win, I should say. They're 3-6. San Antonio 6-3. God, if I threw NBA in my NFL parlay yesterday, then they probably would have lost because I would have absolutely put San Antonio on there. But thank goodness I didn't. Impressive win for Orlando. Aaron Gordon had 26 with 8 boards. Evan Fournier had 16 points with 7 assists. DJ Augustine had 18 points, 5 boards, 7 assists. Nick Vucevic had 13 and 8. Mo Bamba off the bench, 12 points, 11 boards. Terrence Ross had 17 off the bench. DeMar DeRozan, 25 points, 7 boards, 5 assists. Bryn Forbes had 13. LaMarcus Aldridge had 14 with 6 boards. Pau Gasol off the bench, 12 points, 8 boards, 5 assists. Patty Mills had 16 off the bench. Marco Bellinelli had 15 off the bench. And Rudy Gay didn't play for San Antonio due to a right heel injury. So maybe if he played, San Antonio wins. The Suns defeat the Grizzlies 102-100. A nice win for the Phoenix Suns. They're 2-7. Memphis is 5-3. Devin Booker, 25 points with 7 assists. Isaiah Cannon had 13. Trevor Ariza, 16 points, 9 boards, 5 assists. Mikal Bridges had 14 off the bench. Mike Conley had 12 points with 5 assists. Kyle Anderson had 10 points and 5 boards. Sheldon Mack off the bench had 21. Dylan Brooks had 17 off the bench. And Marshawn Brooks had 11 off the bench. The Trailblazers defeated the Timberwolves 111-81. This is a beatdown by the Blazers as they go to 7-3. Minnesota drops to 4-6. Jimmy Butler did not play. Jusuf Nurkic, 19 points, 12 boards. A little bit of a rejuvenated version of Nurkic to start the year. Dame Lillard, 18 points, 5 boards, 5 assists. C.J. McCollum had 16. Myers Leonard off the bench had 15 points, 12 boards. Zach Collins had 11 off the bench. So, like I said, a big win for Portland. Much needed win after the bad loss, or not really a bad loss, but a disappointing loss to the Lakers on Saturday night. Karl Anthony Towns had 23. Andrew Wiggins had 17. And speaking of the Lakers, they got destroyed. 121-107 at home against the Raptors. Toronto goes to 9-1. Lakers drop to 4-6. No Kawhi Leonard in this game. Very impressive win for Toronto. Serge Ibaka, speaking of rejuvenated players, 34 points, 10 boards. Kyle Lowry had 21 points and 15 assists. Danny Green had 15. Pascal Siakam had 16 and 13. Jonas Valanciunas off the bench had 14. DeLon Wright had 11 off the bench. Meanwhile, Lakers, LeBron James had 18 points and 6 assists. Kyle Kuzma had 24. Brandon Ingram had 16. Lonzo Ball had 12. Rajon Rondo off the bench had 10. But yeah, awful loss for Los Angeles Lakers. Tonight, at 7 o'clock, you have the Heat and the Pistons. The Rockets and the Pacers. Cavs and the Magic. Rockets-Pacers is actually a nice one. Pistons, I expect to come out and play well against Miami, but Miami's a bit of a wild card. You never know what you're going to get from them. Cavs-Magic might be the worst game on the slate. 7:30 is a bad one, too. Bulls-Knicks, but I could totally see the Knicks going out and destroying the Bulls. The Knicks have destroyed bad teams on their home floor all year. We saw that last Monday night against the Nets. We saw that in the opener against the Hawks. Their win in Dallas was very impressive, so that's what made the loss in D.C. so predictable. And plus, the Wizards needed that game more. They were desperate 1-7. Scotty Brooks on the hot seat, so I can't really entirely fault the Knicks for that game, but John Wall and Bradley Beal were just phenomenal in that game on both ends of the floor. So I expect the Knicks to come out and bounce back there. NBA TV at 8 o'clock, you have the Pelicans and the Thunder. Let's see if Anthony Davis plays. He probably will. This is the best game on the slate. And actually, no, the best game on the slate, I will mention it in a second, but this is one of the best games on the slate. And then the Thunder, winners of 4 in a row, have an opportunity to get above 500 here at the win. Best game of the night is Celtics at the Nuggets at 9 o'clock. This is a phenomenal game. And the Celtics, to me, are a bit, not confusing, but they have some things that they have to take care of. Like Gordon Hayward's not playing well. I think he'll eventually be back, but he's not all the way back yet. Jaylen Brown has been a little inconsistent. Meanwhile, Denver's been out of their minds. Their lone loss of the year came in LA against LeBron and the Lakers. Another good one, as long as Kawhi Leonard plays, is Raptors at the Jazz. Second night of a back-to-back for Toronto. I'm interested to see how they come out and perform. I expect Kawhi to play. Grizzlies Warriors at 10:30. Oof, I think we know what's going to happen there. And then the Timberwolves at the Clippers at 10:30 as well. I wonder if Jimmy Butler will or will not play. Hockey. There's only 3 games on the slate last night. The Rangers defeated the Sabres 3-1. The Rangers go to 6-7-1. Buffalo drops to 7-6-2. The number 1 star of the game with 39 saves on 40 shots, Henrik Lundqvist. The number 2 star of the game with 2 goals, Jimmy Vesey. The number 3 star of the game with an assist, Vladimir Nemesnikov. The Lightning defeat the Senators 4-3 in overtime. Nice come-from-behind win for Tampa Bay. They go to 10-3-1 on the year. Ottawa drops to 5-6-3. The number 1 star of the game with a goal and an assist, Braden Point. Number 2 star of the game, 41 saves on 45 shots, Craig Anderson. He kept Ottawa in that game. And the number 3 star of the game with 2 assists, Mark Stone. The Ducks defeated the Blue Jackets 3-2 in overtime, and a nice win for Anaheim, much needed. They're 6-6-3. Columbus drops to 7-6-1. The number 1 star of the game with a hat trick, Cam Fowler. Number 2 star of the game with an assist, Ricard Raquel. And the number 3 star of the game with 2 goals, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Tonight's slate, only 5 games. At 7 o'clock, you have 4 games. Stars Bruins, that's a nice one from TD Garden. Dallas is playing a little better lately. Bruins have a bit of a goalie issue. Tuukka Rask has struggled this year, and Yaroslav Halak has carried the team a lot. Canadiens Islanders is a battle of overachievers from the island. Devils Penguins. Devils have struggled a little bit, and so has Pittsburgh. So that's a battle of struggling teams right there. Oilers Capitals is interesting. Oilers have turned it around after a slow start. Capitals haven't won back-to-back games all year. And at 9 o'clock, you have the Flyers and the Coyotes. Flyers up and down. Coyotes have been red hot. So that's a nice little slate. And last but not least, my best bet of the night, 4-team moneyline parlay. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys to win against the Tennessee Titans. They absolutely have to have this game. And my one reason why I'm taking the Cowboys in this parlay is because they are undefeated at home. And I just think that the Titans are a bit of a mess. They have a ton of injuries. And I think that the Cowboys at home in a night game will take advantage of that. And they are minus 235. The next team I'm going to take is an NBA team. It's a team that I already called on the podcast to win tonight, and I can't believe I'm putting them in the parlay. I know I might regret it by the end of the night, but maybe not. And that's the New York Knicks. And my argument is what I said earlier in the podcast. As what they've shown so far, especially on their home building, they're going to destroy bad teams. And who's a bad team? The Chicago Bulls, especially on the defensive side of the floor. I'd take the over in a heartbeat in this game too. And the Knicks are only laying 2.5. I just took them on the money line because sometimes games have like that last second shot that gets the cover and the team still wins. So not going to take any chances with half points and point spreads here on moneyline parlays. So, like I said, strictly a moneyline parlay. I like the Knicks at home to beat up on Fred Hoiberg's team. This is a bit of a flyer. I've talked about how the Celtics have had some issues this season, such as Gordon Hayward not playing up to par and still sort of recovering from that injury, and Jaylen Brown being up and down. The Denver Nuggets have been phenomenal at home this year, so that's a bit of a risk taking the Nuggets. They're a short favorite, but I'm just going to take them on the money line, and they're minus 122. By the way, the Knicks are 139, and the last team is an obvious team that is going to be in my moneyline parlays a lot, especially if they're playing in their home building, and that is the Golden State Warriors, minus 2,000. And that adds up to plus 370. I'm taking $5.18 to wager, and the payout potentially $24.35. So there's your you can bank on it pick of the day, sponsored by DraftKings. And tomorrow I'll be back recapping everything from NFL, the NBA, to NHL, go over any other things that happen in the world of sports. I'll also be doing my college football power rankings as well as my predictions on how the top 25 is going to shake out for tomorrow night. That's very fascinating. Also going to do my NFL power rankings and guess the lines. And I'm going to do guess the lines for college football on tomorrow's podcast too. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.